Welcome to the Horse Hour podcast. Today we are at the National Equine Forum. It's very exciting. It's an event where all the experts in the industry get together and talk about how we're going to improve the industry and make it better. And we are joined by the lovely Lynn Petersen. She's Chief Executive of the British Horse Society. How are you, Lynn?
I'm great. Absolutely great.
You're speaking at the National Equine Forum today, and we're going to be talking about changing lives, but I'm dying to know a little bit more about you, if that's okay.
Right, about me. Well, my background is primarily commercial. I was for years a European marketing director for Time magazine here in London. And then I took a jolly stint and I was director of the worldwide sponsorship of women's tennis.
Oh, really?
So that was quite an exciting job.
Yeah, that's very different to the equestrian world, isn't it?
It is very different, although I've always had horses. But no, my background, largely commercial. And then I took a turn and became sales, marketing, and fundraising director for the Outward Bound Trust. So that was my first foray into charity. And found that it was wonderful to be able to bring all the corporate and commercial experience to charity.
Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit addictive, isn't it? When you see the good results, you think, oh, I just want to keep going.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Outward Bound was fantastic. Dare I say, even changing lives, which we'll be talking about in a moment, is an outward bound experience with horses.
And you touched on that you've got horses yourself. Have you always?
Of course.
Have you always been a rider?
I have not always been a rider. No, I came to it rather late. Although I'm not going to tell you how late, but I did come to it rather late. But always a love affair from a child. Yeah.
Oh, what was it that made you decide to get your horse in the end? Because I'm a late bloomer as well. You know, I didn't get my.
You're a late bloomer?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, it was simply logistics and finance. So I found myself in a position to be able to learn to ride and then ultimately have my own horse, and happily have never looked back.
I think when it's an industry that you're so passionate about personally anyway, it doesn't necessarily feel like work, does it?
Oh, this is a dream situation for me, to take all the corporate experience, the charity experience, and apply it to the horses. It's just a dream. Yeah, perfect.
Well, we briefly heard earlier from Sarah Phillips about the business rates. So, you know, you're doing a lot for the industry, and it's great seeing the work that you guys do. But another thing that you've just launched is the Changing Lives campaign. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Right. That's right. Well, we are not the pioneers in this field, I hasten to say. As I was visiting all of our riding centers, I became aware that from time to time they would take in a group from a local school, or the local authority would say, can you help? And they would do their best to do just that, to help with these young people, with the horses in that environment. And then as the BHS started to grow, we thought, well, we can take this on as a national program. So that's how it began. It began with the inspiration of all these other people who are working in this field. You may have heard of the Fortune Center or Emile Fure's Foundation, and these people are doing this type of work. But what we've decided to do is something a little different. We hooked up with a lovely charity called Place to Be, and the Fortune Center, who already deals with horses in this regard. But Place to Be also helped us understand that we can teach skills, nothing to do with riding initially, nothing at all. It's just working with the horse so that a young person gains in confidence, understands what teamwork is, responsibility, accountability, some of these deep and meaningful skills that help us all become productive, successful people. The young people that we are targeting, if you will, harsh word perhaps, but the young people that we're working with are quite disengaged. Not just normal, perhaps teen issues. I'm talking about thoroughly profoundly disengaged with society, with their school, with perhaps even their families. So this has been a real desire on our part to work with these hard to reach, perhaps at risk of being excluded young people, and bring them into our environment. We've spent a great deal of time training some of our BHS qualified instructors to learn how to use and work with the horse and these young people to generate some of these new skills.
I mean, it's great. My thought for instructors is, oh my goodness, there's so much I could talk to you about on that level. You know, the fact that you have a list of instructors is amazing, because I can't believe that it's not a legal requirement to have, you know, some sort of form of certification to be an instructor. Yeah, absolutely. But
Indeed.
But these instructors are very much counsellors, and they help these kids. They get them at a young age. I mean, for adults, they're counsellors as well. I mean, my poor instructor, she listens to my whole life while I'm riding. But to be able to give them the tools to help youngsters, and it's not just youngsters you're dealing with as well, is it? It is adults. It's people that are struggling to communicate and struggling to interact with society.
Well, our 12 pilot programs did focus exclusively, as I say, on these young, hard-to-reach 14 to 18-year-olds. But we have plans to, once we have embedded the program with our riding centers in this area, we've been asked to take a look at veterans. We've been asked to take a look at perhaps the elderly, people who are not being connected into their communities or to society. So right now, the 12 pilots that we ran focused on these 14 to 18-year-olds. What the government has a name for these young people. They're called NEET. Have you heard that? NEET?
No, I haven't.
N-E-E-T.
What's that? What does that mean?
Okay, N-E-E-T stands for Not in Education, Employment, or Training. That's what it stands for. And there are 843,000 of these young people in our society that are not in education, employment, or training. And we've decided, through our research and what we've been able to put together in Changing Lives, that we're going to be very bold, and we're going to say our goal is to get these young people back into education or into employment.
Wow.
That is our goal. And that's when we will feel that we have been successful. So our pilot programs have been educating us in terms of how does this work? What sort of things can we teach these young people that would make them inspired to go back to school or decide that they wanted to work? And we've got some wonderful examples of young people who, in going through the pilot program, have decided to go back to school, get their math and English GCSEs, because as part of this program, we're helping them understand there are things that, as a young adult, you have to inspire yourself to achieve these goals. And so as they start achieving goals with the horses, they start realizing that they have goals that they can achieve for themselves. So we've had, I think, out of a small cohort with the pilot program of 20 people, we've had about 25% of them go back into education to start with.
That's amazing.
We've also had a few that have gone, I know.
Yeah, amazing.
It is amazing, actually. I guess it's no secret. They started to feel good about themselves. They started to gain confidence. They realized that they could do things and that they could be successful doing things with the horses. And that transforms and crosses the boundary over into, I can go back to school and I can be successful this time.
Lynn, I'm such a believer. Honestly, I can't tell you how much I'm constantly talking about using horses as a positive influence for kids. And
Indeed. That's it.
They might have issues at school, if they go to school at all. They've got, some of them have horrific upbringings. I've worked with many, many children over the years, particularly
They do.
kids that they don't really have much guidance. We can't say it's all down to the parents, because it's not. It's situations, it's their life, it's their environment. There's lots of different elements to it. But seeing what horses can do and the improvement they can make just being with them, I think when you watch a child and they can't talk, they won't talk, they're quite in themselves. They don't have friends, they struggle to communicate, and you see that one spark, that one moment of when that horse connects with them.
Exactly.
Nothing compares to that. You can't sell that, it's so magical. And then to see and watch that child grow, and some of these kids that I personally have worked with have massively successful careers now. Really, really, they're so successful. Not in the industry, not with horses, but they've learnt
exactly
to develop. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I think I'll give you an interesting example. I think you might be interested in. As I said, it is not our goal to turn these young people into riders. It is our goal to help them get back into employment or into education through learning a number of very, very important skills. And one of them is confidence. I mean, the example you've just talked about is all to do with being more confident, believing in yourself. Yeah?
Yeah.
And we use one of the simple exercises we use initially in the program is to put a head collar on a horse. It's not simply putting a head collar on a horse or aligning it up properly. It's approaching the horse as a living being with care and with empathy. And if you start to understand that with the horse, it's not that difficult to then transfer that skill to people that you deal with. And realizing as you approach every situation, if you approach it with kindness and with empathy, you'll get a good result as you do with the horse. So you use the word, it's magical. It is indeed magical.
So you've been running these pilots already, and then how will it work? Will there be certain riding schools that can take on this project, and will they invite children to come and spend time with them? Do they have to pay for it?
Well, we have over 600 British Horse Society approved riding centres, and this will not be compulsory for anyone. This will be something that if a riding school wishes to get involved, they simply have to contact us. And then we will offer them a training program, because this is something that might differentiate us from some of the other instances of this type of work that I mentioned very early on. And that is, we have a training program that we put our instructors through and the riding centers, and they understand how the program works from our point of view. And then there's a evaluation method. There's a method of judging whether this program is working for this particular young person. I think it's important to say that we have not defined a beginning. We've not defined an end point. It's what the young person needs to gain these skills. So if someone starts to develop and grow in confidence in a few weeks, that's wonderful. If it takes someone else a few months, that's fine too. There's no set end point as to how we will work with these young people. It's what they need, not what we want. So you're going to have riding centers that will say, I'd like to be involved, I'd like to go through the training program, and then they will have contacts because they are community-minded, and they will have contacts either with local schools or with the local authority. And in that instance, we will facilitate any introductions, but they mainly have these types of relationships. So we're giving them a program that we now learn, and we will continue to learn, but the program we have now does indeed work for these young people that we've put through the pilot program.
A fascinating program working with young children that I've heard previously is a program called Teach First.
Oh,
are you aware of Teach
I know
First?
it well.
Yeah,
I know it very, very well. My goddaughter is one of the Teach First teachers.
Oh, well, my best friend is also one of them, and she's now making her way up to becoming head. And she took it upon herself to use horses to help some of the children that she worked with. And
Brilliant.
Massive,
Did she?
yeah, massive believer. And if anything, she's, bless her, tried to build the network with riding schools close by to say, take my kids, please take them because it works for them. And she was the first person in that school to have 100% pass rate in maths and English, your main things. It's incredible. So the proof is there. I mean, we're believers. We don't need... It's obvious. We've been shouting it from the rooftops as equestrians for years, Lynn, to say, this is so beneficial. And also you touched as well.
Wonderful.
You touched as well on the veterans. And
Yes.
Recently I've been introduced to a charity in Scotland called Horseback UK.
That's right.
You know them, do you?
Yes.
Oh,
I
amazing.
know of them. And I know that they do sterling work in this field as well.
And so for them, as a charity, to know that they have the support of a big entity like British Horse Society is invaluable to them. But more to the point, you're helping the government, you're helping the UK, you're helping everybody get back on their feet, which I think is what we need in these times.
The point, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the point.
So the end game
One at a time. One young person at a time, and we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the end game then, if I had a 16-year-old that I thought, they'd really benefit from changing lives, how would I go about getting them involved?
Well, you undoubtedly contact us in first instance to see if there's a program that would be near you. As I say, we've got 12 pilot centers scattered throughout the UK, but obviously our intention is to have dozens and then hundreds. I mean, that is our intention, to make this very available. But that will take a great deal of not just time, but it will take the donations from people who want to help us make sure that this happens. So if we had a center, let's say, that was near to you, then we would put you in touch with them, and they would see when they have an opening, and it would progress in that way. Sadly, if you were not near something for us, it would be a matter of making sure that we can provide the funds to do more training to offer this in more of the centers.
Are the riding schools investing in this, I guess, aren't they? They don't need to pay for the coaching or the training, do they?
No, we're investing in them.
Yeah.
We're a charity. We want to make this work for young people. So we are offering this training to our qualified instructors and our approved centers. That is what we are doing as a charity. So we will train them to deliver the program, and also it's important to evaluate the program, to measure the successes, so that in the years to come we can point to the level of success that we're having with such a program. That's important. It's important to people who may wish to donate. They want to know that their money is going to work very hard for us, or for the young people, I should say. So that's why we're absolutely as keen on measuring the program and delivering the program and having good outcomes.
And what an amazing opportunity for the riding schools as well, to be able to develop their own instructors' skills.
Well, we chose the first 12, so we would work with them and we'd be able to develop the program. We now have the program and the training program, and when it was launched publicly on the 29th of January, we had riding centers from all over the country phoning and asking to become part of it.
Wow.
So I think we have hit a nerve here. I think we've truly hit a nerve.
Yes. So when you're speaking at the NEF, are you taking questions?
I believe I am, yes.
Is the aim to get more support from the government, or is it about awareness?
First, one has to be aware that such a nationwide program exists, so that's certainly part of what we need to do. But then, of course, we need to fund this program. So we are looking to government, we are looking to trusts and foundations, and we're looking to the public. All of them have a role to play if they believe, as we do, that this is an effective way of re-engaging with young people who just may not come back to us if we don't get them. They may not come back to us at all.
Some of them are they're quite lost. And
they are very lost.
They need a hand. They need almost like a safety net to say, it's okay, you know, we can help you, and this is how we're going to do it. Lynn, I think it's amazing. I'm so excited for it, and I'd love to know how I can get involved on a personal level. How can we get involved? Obviously, we can donate. Are there volunteering opportunities? Yes. How, you know, we can talk about it on social media. But what else, as a community, can we do to support you?
Well, I think, as you've just described, getting the word out there that such a program exists in a national sense, and that we need the funds to be able to provide the training. And then from that point on, it takes off. Often the schools and the local authorities have funds to help young people in this situation, but they don't quite know what program to use or where to turn. We will also be able to, at some point in the future, help subsidize those schools or local authorities that just don't have quite enough money to put their young people through this. So where you can help and where others can help is getting the word out there that such a program exists, that it is very, very effective, and that it's something that's worth investing in to help our young people.
Lynn, thank you so much. Can we follow you on Twitter?
Yes, indeed. It's at BHS_CLTH, Changing Lives Through Horses.
That's lovely. And we can head to your website as well, can't we?
You can, and we are associated with Just Giving, so that makes it very, very easy. But yes, thank you very much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us and explaining all about it. We'll put Changing Lives on our website, horsehour.co.uk.
Thank you.
We will tweet about it, and we're really looking forward to hearing you speak later.
Oh, thank you very, very much. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks so much for listening. I'm at the National Equine Forum all day today, and I'll be bringing you interviews with guest speakers, with some of the experts. We'll be live tweeting the conversations that are taking place and photos too, so you can get involved in what's happening at the NEF. Tweet us your questions. What do you think about some of the subjects that are being talked about? Just use hashtag horsehour, hashtag NEF17. The experts here are talking in detail about how we can make changes to the industry. How can we improve our equestrian industry? And you're part of that as well. So do tweet us your opinions and your questions. I will speak to you very soon.